Hi, this is Julia Widup with Talk Story TV, and I have with me today Sherrie Clark, who is the author of a book called Small Voices Silenced, The Secret Society of Sacrificed Children. And she's going to tell us about her book and what it's about and maybe read a little bit out of it. So I will turn it over to Sherrie.
Hi, thank you so much. This is a book, if we can get it in the camera, let me see, there we go. It's a book that I wrote and recently was published, and it is about actually the foster care system. And my husband and I had become foster parents. And we started off, oh my goodness, so naive. We wanted to adopt a child. And we didn't know anything. We had research like domestic adoption, different kinds, private adoptions, international, and we settled on the foster care system. And so we did our research, but there was a lot of things we didn't understand. We thought, well, everybody went into it because they wanted to help a child. We got into it. We were going to just adopt, and while we were going through MAP training, which is an acronym for Model Approach to Parenting Partnership, the trainer was trying to talk us into becoming foster care parents. And we just said, no, we're not cut out for that because we will fall in love with a child, and we don't think we can get the child back. So she kept on because evidently there was this contest going on between all the agencies of who could open the most foster homes. So that's what it was all about. I found out later. So she's trying to talk us into it at one of the training sessions, and there was a caseworker standing by. She says, well, if you want to adopt a child, you really need to foster the child first, because once a child is in your home for 6 months and they become available for adoption, then you get first choice. Because, as far as adoption, they don't come out of the chute that way. I remember her words, they don't come out of the chute that way. So, my husband and I talked about it. We said, okay, fine. Well, if that's going to expedite the process, then we'll do foster to adopt. And we did. And we just prayed that our first child would be adoptable.
Yeah.
Huh?
Be the one you could adopt.
Right, would be available. But it was really, funny. When I said we were naive, I mean we were so naive. We're sitting in class, and our last class, we're sitting there, and you could tell no one was really interested. It came across that way. But boy, once the subject of money came up, I'm telling you, that sleeping giant arose, and that whole class started, firing questions at the instructor, and we're looking around, and my husband like, they pay you for this? We didn't even know. Because we just wanted to have a child and bring a child into our home and offer a child a forever home. So, the bubble of naivety was being pricked slowly, little pieces of air, little bits of air were coming out. So we ended up we got our license, and about 13 days after we got our license, they called us, which surprised me because we had heard that there was like 35 kids coming into the system a week, and here we were available. So we got in, and she was a newborn baby. And I'm like, they come into the system that way? And the lady's like, oh, yes, and all the time. So we said yes, and we took in, she was 3 days old. We picked her up from the hospital. Beautiful little girl. So the story talks about us getting this foster baby, and from all looks, we were going to adopt her. We went through, a few social workers, and that was another thing about the system. There was such a huge turnaround. It was like a revolving door. We had changes in caseworkers, in support specialists, guardian ad litem. It was just constant. And so it talks about our journey, and I'm telling you, I understand how Alice must have felt when she fell down the rabbit hole into this strange world of Wonderland, because that's what we were. We were into this world. It was like, oh my goodness. It was strange. It was very intrusive as well, where they would come into your home and everybody seemed to have to check out your cabinets, your bedrooms, and it's like, somebody was here yesterday. Do you guys not exchange notes here? Now you're checking out my bedroom. But, we understand it to a certain degree. It was very, very overwhelming, and I talk about that. So if somebody's ever been a foster parent, if somebody's thinking about it, or they are one, I think they could totally relate to how I describe being a foster parent. And it is a very demanding job, and God bless you foster parents out there. You're doing a very selfless job. So it's just our journey of going through it and the things we discovered. And I was invited to meetings and events. I was the only non-state employee there. It was amazing. I'd walk in, I'm like, okay, we got to sign in. What's your name? I'd tell them, what agency are you with? I went, I'm not. But I was invited. And I tell them who would invite me, and so they'd have to add my name. And so I really got a real almost behind-the-scenes look, as well as being a foster parent, as well as talking with other foster parents. And we were appalled. There were some, as we went through our journey, horrid practices involved. And the sad thing about it is that we're not talking about used cars here. We're not talking about having jewelry. We're talking about human lives. And these human lives have hopes and they have dreams. I don't even know how to describe it, and I'm a writer, to find the right words. So after my venture, I felt compelled because it was so nonsensical. I had to share the story, and I wrote the book. And then as time went by, I changed it, and I put the testimony in there. I'll go ahead, if you don't mind, and I'll start so people can maybe understand better and follow and do the introduction.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do the whole introduction, so, Okay. But I do want to just give you a little bit about it from the beginning, a little bit about it from the end. It says, deceit, manipulation, corruption, secrecy, conflict. These are the components of a juicy novel. But what if all of these, and worse, belong to a real-life tragedy, a real-life thriller, a real-life horror story? And what if this tragedy, thriller, horror story involves our children, those as young as newborn infants? And what if all this real stuff is happening right here in our own backyard and is being committed by the very ones sworn to protect the children? Follow me as I take you into a world where the behind-the-scene antics are stranger than fiction. This is a place where the transgressions inflicted upon the innocent are so appalling that they have literally made strong men weep. This is a place where the small voices of its victims are silenced in preparation for their destruction soon to come. This is a place where a secret society is alive and well and sacrifices its children on a daily basis to personal agendas, a financial bottom line, and apathy. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the world of foster care.
Wow.
And then, at the very end of the introduction, when I talk about the testimony, I said, and I talk about my, kind of synopsis of what we went through. And I said, but then I realized I hadn't written the ending. And so my focus became twofold. This is talking about how I wrote the book. And then I stopped it, and it really just became a tragedy. And then, that's what I mean. I realized I hadn't written the ending, so my focus became twofold. If I was going to reveal the bad side, then I must reveal the good. I needed to reinstill trust that mankind was capable of doing what was good, what was true, what was right. I needed to be fair and show the heroes who turned the tables, their emergence reinforcing our naive ideology of a system looking out for the best interest of our children. So I deleted some of the bad and condensed the rest because, in all fairness, my first attempt had only contained half of the story. I had been remiss in not sharing the joy despite the tragedy. I had omitted the part that encourages us all not to give up even during those times when the pain becomes unspeakable. I had been negligent in leaving out a very important lesson. When we come to the point of realizing we're powerless, that's when God demonstrates His faithfulness. And I finished the story. I included the blessings we experienced within the same system that had once almost destroyed me. But if not for the heap of ashes where my heart had once resided, I would never have experienced true beauty. As a result, this journey had come to a close. For within these pages, you'll read about more than the wrongdoings of the foster care system. I'll share with you a beautiful love story and a testimony of promises fulfilled. You'll learn to never give up, even in the darkest of storms. For where there is hope, there is faith. And where there is faith, there are miracles, some of which can come in the smallest of packages.
Well, that sounds... Yeah, I had to become a foster parent to get custody of my grandson. So I have some experience with it.
Wow. You had to go through all the hoops and...
Even though I was his grandmother.
Yeah. And, you understand the hoops, especially nowadays with, there's being so many people out there. But I'm telling you, what I've seen and what I still see is the system writes its own rules as they go along, and it breaks its own rules. Mm-hmm. And my husband and I, because of, we were so moved at what happened and what we witnessed. I mean, we were actually watching a train wreck, and we're yelling, "Stop, stop, stop," and no one cared. And because of what we saw, we have just now, when I say just now, I mean last week, we got the paperwork saying that our nonprofit has been established, and it's called, where this says, Small Voices Silence. Our nonprofit is Small Voices Speak.
Small
and
Voices
it is, yes, and it's fighting for children's rights and giving these children who have been silenced a voice. And sometimes, because they're so young, it's not so much them speaking, but it's the ones who spend the most time with them, their foster parents. They know them the best at this point. They're with them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And making it, it's not like, let's get into some kind of tough turf war with the foster care system. But it is saying, there are some real holes and weaknesses. And we know it, you know it. We have solutions. So let us come aside and help and alleviate some of your overwhelmness, where your plate is so, full, it's just overrunning. And I say in the book, children aren't falling through the cracks of being crammed. And so that, and to put everybody on a fair playing field, and so we can get back to the real agenda of what's in the best interest of a child. Mm-hmm. And so that's what the nonprofit's about, as well as we're going to tackle the foster care system, but also it's other issues like child trafficking. That's a big passion of mine as well. And I do a lot of writing and editing for an organization that does that. That works anti-child trafficking efforts. Yes.
And tell us more about that. What is that?
Child trafficking, human trafficking.
So they're buying children and selling them?
Yes. And, I won't get real graphic, but, yeah, they buy and sell children. And sometimes children are actually sold by their parents. They're poor. Sometimes they're abducted. And it's heart-wrenching. And these children, their lives get robbed from them at such a young age. And I'm talking young, I mean toddler. I'm talking preschool. So that is another huge passion of mine. Mm-hmm. And so I guess that's what I do, is I just fight for justice and children's rights.
Good for you. Wow, this is very interesting. So you just got your license as a nonprofit a week ago.
Right. the certificate, and my husband's real passion. So this is because I have a lot of other things going on. I'm a book editor, but you know, I'm working with him. But I tell about it. This is his baby. I mean, and, you know, which he's a man, and he is very passionate about that. But it took us a while to figure out the name, and you know, I thought Small Voices Speak, because that's what we want to do. We want to give back the voice to these children who's been robbed. They've been robbed in their home that they were taken from, and they get robbed in the system, and they need a voice.
And do you have a website?
Nope, just started it all. It came kind of quick. I mean, I was expecting to get it back kind of, you know, in a few weeks. And then, like, I think like the next day or something, it came back really quick. So, you know, it's like one thing at a time. And so we got the nonprofit. I do have my website, Small Voices Speak. Small Voices Silenced, and it is being revamped. But I think I have one up now.
Okay.
You know, yeah.
So if someone wants to buy your book, where would they go?
Oh, you know, BN.com for Barnes & Noble online, Amazon.com.
Okay.
Those are two places that are, you know, very common. You can get it paperback, hardback, Kindle, or Nook if it's Barnes & Noble.
All right.
So there's all versions, yes.
Okay. All right. Well, did you write an article for our guest blog? Are you going to?
I did.
Great.
I did. I wrote one. Yeah.
Okay. So I encourage anybody who's watching us to read Sherrie's guest blog at tvbackstory.com. And thank you so much for being with us today, Sherrie.
Well, thank you. I really enjoyed it. Thank you for this opportunity to let me talk about my passion.
Yes, it was fascinating.
So thank you. Thank you.